It was a typical Friday night in Los Angeles, and my friends and I had decided to catch a late-night movie to unwind after a hectic week. As the credits rolled, we made our way back to the parking lot, laughing and chatting about the film we had just seen. As we approached the spot where we had parked our car, a sinking feeling washed over us. The space was empty, and our car was nowhere to be seen. We scanned the parking lot, hoping we had just misremembered the location, but the unsettling truth settled in: we were careless. Panic set in as we tried to recall every detail of our parking spot. We hadn't parked far from the entrance, but now the rows of vehicles seemed endless. A feeling of unease crept into our group as we realized that our car could be anywhere in the vast parking lot. Just as despair began to take hold, one of my friends spotted a strange note attached to a lamppost nearby. It simply read, "You're closer than you think." The cryptic message did little to comfort us, and if anything, it only heightened our anxiety. We decided to follow the note's vague instructions, hoping it would lead us to our missing car. As we walked deeper into the parking lot, we noticed a trail of similar notes, each one leading us further away from where we believed we had parked. With each step, the atmosphere grew more unsettling. Faint chants filled the air, a chorus of eerie voices that seemed to come from all directions. We couldn't make out the words, but the sinister tone sent shivers down our spines. As we followed the trail of notes, we found ourselves in a deserted corner of the parking lot. There, the trail abruptly ended, and there were no more notes to guide us. It was as if they had vanished into thin air, leaving us bewildered and even more frightened. We tried to retrace our steps, but everything looked the same: rows of cars stretching into the darkness, and no recognizable landmarks. The parking lot had become a maze, and we were trapped in its clutches. "Are you sure this is the way we came in?" Michael asked, his voice trembling with anxiety. We all exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what to do next. "I don't know," Emily replied, her voice quivering. "It all looks the same. I thought we parked near the entrance, but now I can't even find the sign." My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to think rationally. We had only been inside the mall for a couple of hours, and yet, it felt like an eternity had passed since we parked the car. The clock on my phone seemed to confirm my worst fears. It was well past midnight, and the parking lot was eerily empty. "Let's try going this way," I suggested, pointing towards a row of cars that seemed vaguely familiar. We walked briskly, hoping that each step would lead us closer to the exit. But the more we walked, the more disoriented we became. It was as if the parking lot itself was playing tricks on us, rearranging its layout to keep us trapped. "We need to find security or someone who can help us," Sarah said, her voice tinged with desperation. "This is getting ridiculous." "I agree," Michael chimed in. "Let's head back towards the mall. There's bound to be someone there who can point us in the right direction." With renewed determination, we turned around and retraced our steps, but it felt like we were going in circles. The sense of dread intensified with each passing moment. The darkness seemed to close in around us, and the occasional flickering of overhead lights only added to the eerie atmosphere. As we continued our search for the mall entrance, a chilling realization dawned upon us. There were no security guards, no other shoppers, not even a janitor in sight. The emptiness of the parking lot was both unnerving and surreal. "We should have stayed inside the mall," Emily said, her voice trembling. "This is not normal. There should be people around, even at this hour." In our desperation, we stumbled upon an old maintenance shed tucked away in a corner. Inside, we found more notes scattered across the floor, along with a series of unsettling symbols painted on the walls. As we pieced together the clues, a terrifying revelation dawned on us. The notes, the chants, the symbols, it was all part of a sinister game. Someone had orchestrated this twisted puzzle, and we were unwilling players. In the end, we managed to find our way back to the main entrance, where the parking lot attendant called the police. We explained what had happened, but as the officers searched the lot, they found no trace of the mysterious notes or the symbols. To this day, we don't know who played that haunting game with us or what their intentions were. The incident left us shaken and wary of ever returning to that parking lot. Sometimes, the most ordinary places can become the setting for the most terrifying nightmares. let's hop onto story number 2. But before I begin reading, make sure that you have subscribed to Mr. Scare for regular horror podcasts. It was a typical evening in Atlanta, and I was leaving work late. As I made my way to the empty parking garage, exhaustion weighed heavy on my shoulders. I stepped into the eerily quiet elevator, pressing the button for the ground floor. The elevator descended smoothly until it suddenly jolted to a stop between floors. My heart skipped a beat, and I anxiously pressed the buttons repeatedly, but the elevator remained motionless. Panic began to rise within me as I realized I was trapped. The lights inside the elevator flickered and then went out, enveloping me in darkness. A chill ran down my spine as I heard faint whispers echoing in the confined space. I strained my ears to listen, unable to make out what was being said. The air grew stale, and the confined space felt suffocating. My breaths quickened, and I could feel the walls closing in on me. I pounded on the elevator doors, calling for help, but my cries echoed back at me, unanswered. "Help! Is anyone out there?" I shouted, my voice echoing back at me mockingly. There was no response, only the haunting silence that enveloped me. I tried to press the emergency button, hoping it would summon help, but it too was unresponsive. Panic surged through me, and I felt like a caged animal, desperately searching for an escape route. My mind raced with thoughts of being stuck in that metal box for hours, or even days, with no one knowing my whereabouts. The darkness seemed to close in around me, and the elevator felt smaller than ever before. I felt a wave of dizziness wash over me, and I steadied myself against the walls, trying to keep my balance. "Stay calm," I told myself, trying to push away the rising sense of fear. "They'll fix it. Someone will come." But with each passing minute, my hope dwindled, and the suffocating feeling of isolation intensified. I continued to pound on the elevator doors, calling out for help until my voice grew hoarse. But there was no response, no sign that anyone had heard my desperate pleas. The silence was deafening, and it felt like I was completely cut off from the outside world. I tried everything to free myself from the claustrophobic prison. I used my phone's flashlight to see if there was any way to pry open the elevator doors, but they were firmly shut. My efforts were futile, and fear threatened to overwhelm me. Just as panic threatened to consume me, I heard faint sounds coming from above. It was the sound of distant voices, and a glimmer of hope washed over me. The rescue team had arrived. The rescue team worked tirelessly to open the elevator doors, their voices offering comfort in the darkness. But with every passing moment, the whispers grew louder, becoming a cacophony of malevolent voices that seemed to mock our efforts. Finally, the elevator doors creaked open, and a ray of light pierced the darkness. The rescue team pulled me out of the suffocating elevator, and I gasped for fresh air. Relief washed over me, but the haunting memory of the whispers lingered. As I was led to safety, I recounted the harrowing experience to the rescue team. They assured me that there had been no explanation for the elevator malfunction, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister had been lurking in the shadows. In the days that followed, I avoided elevators whenever possible, haunted by the memory of that night in the parking garage. The whispers stayed with me, a constant reminder that darkness could hold unknown terrors. From then on, I made sure to never take my safety for granted, knowing that even in the most mundane of places, horror could be waiting just beyond the elevator doors. It was a humid evening in New Orleans, and the streets were unusually quiet as I made my way to the deserted parking lot. I had just finished a late-night dinner with friends and was eager to get home. As I approached my car, an unsettling feeling washed over me, and my heart began to race. To my horror, my car was covered in dark, crimson stains. The sight of the blood sent a chill down my spine, and I immediately scanned the surroundings for any signs of the owner. There was no one in sight, and the eerie silence of the empty parking lot only added to my growing panic. As I carefully inspected the car, I noticed a few scattered belongings inside: sunglasses, a torn piece of paper, and an abandoned handbag. I reached for the piece of paper, hoping it might offer some clues, but its contents were cryptic and incomprehensible. The rational part of my mind urged me to call the police immediately, but something held me back. Fear and curiosity intertwined as I found myself inexplicably drawn to the unfolding mystery. I decided to investigate further before involving the authorities. Inside the abandoned handbag, I found a note scribbled on a crumpled piece of paper. It contained a single sentence: "They know what I did. I can't escape them." The words sent a shiver down my spine, and I knew I had stumbled upon something dangerous. Unable to ignore the urgency of the situation, I decided to look for any witnesses who might have seen what happened. My heart pounded with each step, and the silence around me felt stifling. I found a few homeless individuals nearby, but none had seen anything out of the ordinary. As I circled back to my car, I noticed a shadowy figure lingering in the distance. I called out, but they disappeared into the darkness. My unease grew, and I knew I was being watched. The adrenaline coursing through my veins propelled me forward, determined to uncover the truth. The torn piece of paper I found earlier contained a partial address. I followed the lead, and it led me to an inconspicuous apartment building in the heart of the city. I knocked on the door, and a cold breeze sent a shiver down my spine, even in the sultry night. Inside the apartment, I discovered a web of secrets and lies. There were signs of struggle, and a sinister aura filled the air. Fear gnawed at me as I realized I had stumbled into something far more sinister than I had imagined. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching from behind. My heart raced, and I darted into a nearby closet, desperate to hide. From my hiding place, I overheard hushed voices, whispers of criminal dealings, and dangerous secrets. In the end, I managed to make a quick escape from the apartment, determined to seek help from the authorities. As I emerged into the street, I noticed the shadowy figure from the parking lot once again. I ran, heart pounding, until I reached a crowded area and dialed 911. The police arrived soon after, and I recounted everything I had witnessed, leading them back to the abandoned car in the parking lot. The investigation that followed uncovered a dangerous criminal network, and the owner of the car was eventually found and rescued, though shaken by the ordeal. The incident left me forever changed, haunted by the dark secrets I had stumbled upon in that deserted parking lot. Even now, I can't shake the feeling of being watched, of the blood-stained shadows that lurk in the darkest corners of the city. It was past midnight when I found myself driving into the dimly lit parking garage in the heart of New York City. As I parked my car, I noticed the emptiness around me, the usual bustling atmosphere of the city replaced by an unsettling silence. The concrete walls seemed to close in around me, casting eerie shadows that danced with the dim overhead lights. After a long day, all I wanted was to find my way home quickly. However, as I walked through the concrete maze, I realized that the layout of the garage was unfamiliar to me. Panic began to claw at the edges of my mind as I searched for an exit, but it seemed like the structure extended infinitely in every direction. As I continued my search for an exit, strange sounds echoed through the garage's concrete walls. Faint footsteps seemed to follow me, and the occasional whisper tickled my ears, chilling me to the bone. My heart raced, and my breathing quickened with every unsettling noise. I turned a corner, hoping to find a sign or a map to guide me, when I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. A figure, hunched and lurking in the shadows, disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. My breath caught in my throat, and I reminded myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. As the minutes dragged on, I realized that the garage had become eerily quiet. The strange sounds had stopped, leaving me alone with the sound of my own footsteps echoing through the concrete labyrinth. The dim lights above seemed to flicker, casting the garage into deeper shadows. I quickened my pace, desperate to find my way out of the suffocating darkness. Every corner I turned revealed another dead end, and the feeling of being watched never left me. I called out for help, but my voice seemed to get swallowed by the concrete walls, leaving me in a haunting silence. Just as I was beginning to lose hope, I stumbled upon an old security room tucked away in a corner of the garage. Relief washed over me as I saw a security guard monitoring the surveillance cameras. I rushed towards the room, hoping for some assistance. but as I entered the room, I found it empty. The surveillance screens displayed nothing but static, and there was no sign of the security guard. Fear began to take hold again as I realized that I was truly alone in the parking garage, with no way of escaping. As I retraced my steps, the strange sounds returned, louder and more menacing this time. The whispers seemed to grow in intensity, as if they were taunting me, playing a sinister game of hide and seek in the shadows. Driven by fear and adrenaline, I pushed forward, determined to find my way out. And then, at the end of a long corridor, I saw it, a faint light, a glimmer of hope. I ran towards it, not looking back, praying that it was the way out. Finally, I burst into the open air, my heart pounding in my chest. The city streets greeted me, and the distant sounds of life reassured me that I was no longer trapped in that concrete nightmare. To this day, I don't know what I experienced in that dimly lit parking garage. Was it my mind playing tricks on me, or was there something truly lurking in the shadows? The memory of that night still sends shivers down my spine, a chilling reminder that sometimes, the darkest terrors lie hidden in the most ordinary places. It was a lively Friday night in Austin, Texas, and my friends and I were excited to attend a college party that had been the talk of the campus all week. We parked our car on a quiet street near the party house, the dim streetlights casting eerie shadows on the pavement. After a few hours of dancing and laughter, we returned to our car, only to find it vandalized with cryptic messages scrawled across the windows. My heart sank as I read the words, chilling me to the bone. The windows were covered in cryptic messages, hastily scrawled in what appeared to be dark red paint. My heart sank as I read the ominous words that seemed to hold hidden meaning, chilling me to the bone. "Stay away," read one message, written in jagged letters on the windshield. "You're not safe," said another, etched on the side mirror. Fear gripped us as we looked around the empty parking lot, searching for any sign of the culprit. The thought of someone watching us, lurking in the shadows, filled me with dread. Every rustle of leaves or distant noise sent shivers down my spine, making my heart race with anxiety. "We need to get out of here," Sarah said, her voice shaking. The distant laughter from the party house seemed to taunt us, and the silence around us felt suffocating. As we tried to decipher the cryptic messages, we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The fear in our eyes mirrored each other as we pieced together the words, ominous phrases that spoke of secrets and danger. A rustling sound nearby sent shivers down our spines, and we huddled together, hearts pounding. The party house was just a few steps away, but it felt like an insurmountable distance. We knew we had to leave, but we were paralyzed with fear. Gathering our courage, we made a dash for the car, hearts pounding like a drumbeat. The darkness seemed to envelop us, and every shadow held the possibility of danger. As we fumbled with the car keys, a gut-wrenching realization dawned upon us: someone might still be lurking nearby. As the engine roared to life, a figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the faint glow of the streetlight. Our breath caught in our throats as we locked eyes with the vandal. A sinister grin spread across their faces, and we knew we were not safe. Without a second thought, I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, and the car shot forward like a bullet. The adrenaline surged through our veins, and we raced through the dark streets, the vandal's chilling gaze haunting our every move. In our panic, we took a wrong turn, getting lost in the streets of Austin. The cryptic messages still lingered in our minds, and fear gnawed at us as we tried to find our way back to safety. Finally, we spotted a familiar landmark and raced back to our college campus. The distant hum of the party had faded, replaced by an eerie silence that left us on edge. We parked the car under the brightest streetlight, desperate to feel safe once more. In the days that followed, we reported the incident to the authorities and increased security measures on campus. The cryptic messages remained a chilling mystery, leaving us to wonder if we would ever truly be safe again. The memory of that night in Austin would forever be etched in our minds, a constant reminder that danger could lurk in the shadows, just waiting to strike.